More than 900 people now confirmed killed by the terrorist attacks. More than 100 believed to be taken back to Gaza as hostages, many of them women. Here are the faces of some of them. And a spokesman for Hamas, the terrorist group that runs Gaza, says it will respond to an Israeli attack on people's homes in Gaza, the attacks without warning, by executing their civilian hostages and broadcasting that with audio and video, just as the Islamic State did, so that you know exactly what kind of people you're dealing with here. This is the Hamas that has supporters marching now in our streets tonight in Melbourne. Joining me from Tel Aviv is Major Libby Weiss, spokesman for the Israeli Defence Forces. Major Weiss, thank you so much indeed for your time. What has the IDF done so far in reprisals for this attack?
Well, of course, this is a very dynamic situation in which truly the battle is taking place continuously as we speak. So the first priority, of course, has been on securing the Israeli border, securing the civilian communities along Israel's border with the Gaza Strip. The IDF has been doing that nonstop in the last several days. At this stage, there is more control around those civilian communities, but of course, we are constantly continuing to search for Hamas terrorists who we know are operating within Israel, who are still in Israel, and preventing continuous attacks by Hamas, again, on Israel and Israeli civilians. So the situation is a very, very dynamic one, and the sense of true war and the war zone continues here as we speak.
So you've actually still got terrorists that you're trying to neutralise that are still in Israeli territory. Is that what you're saying too?
We suspect that that is certainly a possibility, and we need to make sure that we do everything possible to find them if they are operating within Israeli territory. Of course, this was a very large mass of terrorists who invaded on Saturday morning. So the IDF remains constantly aware, monitoring the situation, and prepared for any potential engagement with these terrorists in Israeli territory. And we know that Hamas continues to try to infiltrate into Israeli territory along the border. So again, this sense of urgency remains and has not diminished in any way since the weekend.
Now, you're clearly preparing for a land-based operation. You've called in the reservists. 300,000 people have already turned up in just a couple of days. An incredible operation that. How big an invasion, land invasion, are we possibly looking at here?
You know, we're really not there yet to be able to talk about if it would happen or what it would be. You know, any kind of decision like that is something that is made by the government and by the cabinet. In terms of the IDF, though, we are ready for any operational situation and any eventuality. And you know, this call up of reservists, I think, also speaks to the sense of attack that we are all feeling. This is a sense here that we are fighting to protect our homes, fighting to protect our families and our loved ones. And everybody here feels so victimized by what took place over the weekend when we see just the number of innocent civilians killed, those who were dragged into the Gaza Strip. There's a true sense here of everybody wanting to protect their loved ones and protect their homes. So any decision of escalating, of course, will be decided by the cabinet and the government, and the IDF will take that and respond as instructed.
Yeah, and I don't think you're about to announce it in advance in a TV interview. But the hostages, you mentioned some of the hostages alone. That's going to be a nightmare to deal with. Have you got any idea how that's going to affect your operation? What sort of considerations you'll bring to bear in what to do?
Of course, it's a very challenging reality in terms of the operational aspects of this, of any potential operation or what's going on right now. I mean, first and foremost, the best way to secure the safety of these innocent civilian hostages is for Hamas to release them immediately, for Hamas to release the grandparents, the mothers, the children, the innocent families. That is first and foremost the best way to ensure their safety, which is for Hamas to release them immediately, to let civilians go back home and to not let them be part of this conflict. So, of course, that is the number one thing that can be done at this stage. And the operational reality is absolutely a very challenging and complicated one.
There's meanwhile another danger, as if you haven't got enough trouble here, pulling big forces to the south to deal with Gaza and Hamas leaves you weak in the north, or potentially weak in the north. Your border with Lebanon, where Hezbollah, another terrorist group, also funded by Iran, controls a lot of territory and more than 10,000 rockets aimed at Israel. Are there signs that Hezbollah is preparing any major attack?
Well, we've been monitoring the situation on all of our borders, but certainly on the borders in the north very, very closely. We have seen some isolated events. About 2 mornings ago, I believe it was, Hezbollah launched several mortars into Israel. And then yesterday, of course, we did have several infiltrations by members of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, another terrorist organization that is operating there. But we send a very clear message to any other terror organization, to any other state who harbors those terrorists and supports those terrorists, to not get involved in what is taking place right now and to not test the IDF. But we are, of course, remaining at the highest level of alert, and also bringing, of course, reservists and soldiers there to monitor the communities in the north as well.
And finally, Major Weiss, and thank you for your time, but we have politicians here calling for restraint, which they seem to do every time, Israel is forced to respond. Seems aimed more at you than on Hamas. After everything that was done to Israel over the weekend, what restraint are you prepared to offer?
First and foremost, our responsibility as a military is to protect our citizens and to protect our country. And after this horrific slaughter that we saw, our main priority is protecting our citizens. And we will do that. We will do that in whatever way we have to, however we're called to do that, of course. And, I think that the tragedy of what we saw this weekend is something that everybody can recognize. Any reasonable person anywhere in the world can see that this is what we saw here was horrific. These were crimes, war crimes committed against innocent civilians. This is not an issue of politics or an issue of ideology, one way or the other. These are humans. This is a human tragedy perpetuated by terrorists who wanted to do what they did. This was their goal. And we will do whatever is necessary within the IDF to protect our civilians and to protect our communities and to protect our homes, which is exactly what we've been doing.
Thank you for your time, Major Libby Weiss. Appreciate it.